In the Australian wasteland, fear keeps people alive longer than weapons do. The infection destroyed almost the entire country. Cities collapsed. Governments disappeared. Highways became graveyards filled with burned vehicles and infected corpses. But humanity did not disappear. It adapted. Out in the desert, survivors discovered something horrifying about the infected. Their lungs created a strange chemical vapor after transformation. With the right equipment, that vapor could be burned like fuel. Within a few years, engines were rebuilt around the dead. Trucks, generators, convoys, everything now depended on captured infected strapped into metal cages. The old world once fought wars for oil. Now, people hunted breathing corpses, and nobody understood this brutal system better than Reese. Reese no longer believed in heroes. He believed in supply chains, fuel reserves, ammunition counts, escape routes. Emotion got people killed. Preparation kept them alive. His armored truck rolled across the wasteland with infected prisoners chained behind steel frames. Tubes and masks forced chemical vapor out of their lungs and into the engine system. It was ugly, but it worked. Reese survived because he accepted the new rules faster than everyone else. Years earlier, he worked for a military bunker hidden beneath the desert. The bunker was controlled by two dangerous men, the colonel and the surgeon. The colonel ruled through fear. The surgeon ruled through experiments. Together, they captured infected survivors and used them for research. Reese helped transport subjects across the wasteland because he believed the bunker was searching for a cure. At least, that was the lie he told himself. One day, the bunker received new intelligence. Somewhere in the desert, a rare hybrid survivor had appeared. Not fully human, not fully infected. The surgeon believed her blood could change everything. So, Reese received a new mission: find the hybrid, bring her back alive. Far away from the bunker, two sisters were already fighting for survival on the open roads. Grace sat shaking inside an armored vehicle, while Maxie drove through the desert at full speed. Grace had been infected, but the transformation behaved differently inside her body. Sometimes her eyes turned black, sometimes her veins darkened, sometimes she lost control completely, but then the symptoms faded again. Maxie carried stolen serum tubes inside a medical bag beside the driver's seat. Every few hours, she injected Grace with hybrid blood compounds that slowed the mutation for a little longer. Each dose bought time. But before they could leave the combat zone, disaster exploded out of nowhere. A missile screamed across the sky. The blast flipped the convoy through the sand. But then, Reese found something unexpected. Grace was still alive, half transformed, half feral. The moment she saw him, she attacked. Reese barely raised his arm in time before Grace slammed into him with infected strength. Her claws scraped across the metal while she screamed like an animal. One mistake would have torn his throat open. Reese fought carefully. He understood infected behavior better than most survivors. He waited for an opening, then struck hard enough to knock Grace unconscious. He chained her inside his truck. Mission complete, or so he thought, because somebody else survived the crash. Maxie crawled out from beneath the destroyed vehicle moments after Reese left the area. She watched his truck disappear into the desert, then quietly followed him. Hours later, Reese returned to the underground bunker. The place no longer looked human. It looked industrial. Cold metal hallways, restrained infected prisoners, experiment rooms stained with blood. Every corner of the bunker felt less like a hospital and more like a factory built around suffering. The surgeon waited inside the laboratory. Even before speaking, something about him felt wrong. His skin looked pale. His hands shook slightly. Dark veins spread beneath his neck. The infection was already inside him. Only constant injections kept him stable. The colonel looked no better. Both men were slowly transforming, while pretending they still controlled the situation. When Reese dragged Grace into the lab, the surgeon stared at her with excitement instead of sympathy. "A functioning hybrid," he whispered. Grace woke suddenly and struggled against the restraints. "Please," she begged weakly. Reese hesitated for a second, but only for a second. He forced himself to look away. Soldiers followed orders. That was how survival worked. The surgeon noticed it instantly. Something was strange about Grace's blood chemistry. Unlike normal infected victims, her mutation slowed whenever certain hybrid compounds entered her system. That discovery changed everything. The bunker immediately began preparing new experiments. Meanwhile, Reese returned home. His house stood alone in the middle of the wasteland, surrounded by fences, floodlights, and warning alarms. Reese trusted systems more than people. Motion lights covered every angle outside. Backup generators stayed ready at all times. Even the music inside the house served a purpose. Soft background noise helped block the sounds of infected creatures wandering outside in darkness. For the first time all day, Reese finally tried to sleep. Then, the entire power grid died instantly. The music stopped. Floodlights shut down. Silence swallowed the house. Outside, infected creatures slowly gathered near the fence line. Reese grabbed his rifle and headed toward the generator room. That was exactly what Maxie wanted. The moment Reese stepped into the dark hallway, Maxie attacked from the shadows and slammed him into the floor. When Reese woke the next morning, he found himself staring down the barrel of his own weapon. Maxie stood over him. "You took my sister," she said coldly. Reese noticed the infected wound spreading along her arm. "That infection is moving fast," he warned. "Ignore it much longer, and you won't even remember your own name." Maxie ignored the warning. "All I care about is Grace." Neither of them trusted each other, but survival in the wasteland often forced enemies into temporary alliances. Maxie needed help reaching the bunker. Reese wanted answers about Grace's blood, so they made a deal, a dangerous one. The next morning, they drove back toward military territory together. During the trip, Maxie noticed classified photographs stored inside Reese's truck. One image showed a woman surrounded by silent infected creatures. Brooke was a hybrid unlike anything else in the wasteland. "She controls them," Maxie whispered. Reese finally understood why the military feared her so much. Not because she was infected, because she could command the infected naturally. No machines, no control helmets, no restraints, just instinct. That kind of power, it could destroy entire armies. As the truck approached the bunker checkpoint, Reese felt something he had not experienced in years: doubt. The gate slowly opened. Armed soldiers prepared containment restraints nearby. Reese suddenly imagined Maxie ending up on another operating table beside Grace. For the first time, he questioned his mission before completing it. Unfortunately, the bunker surveillance systems already noticed his hesitation. The colonel immediately sensed something was wrong. Armed soldiers surrounded the truck. The trap closed fast. Reese made his decision instantly. He turned his weapon against the bunker guards. Gunfire exploded across the checkpoint. Maxie fired through the side windows, while Reese smashed through barricades with the armored truck. The colonel reacted immediately. Military pursuit vehicles stormed into the desert behind them. Missiles locked onto the escaping convoy. Reese drove harder. Sand blasted across the windshield, while engines screamed under pressure. Then, the missile hit. The armored truck flipped violently across the wasteland. Reese blacked out. When he regained consciousness, he was tied to metal restraints in the middle of open desert. The colonel stood nearby, watching infected creatures gather around the area. "This is what happens to traitors," the colonel said. Instead of killing Reese quickly, he wanted the infected to tear him apart slowly. The horde moved closer, growling, hungry, waiting. Then suddenly, everything stopped. Every infected creature froze in place. The battlefield went silent. A woman calmly walked through the middle of the horde without fear. Brooke. The infected watched her like wolves obeying an alpha predator. No screaming, no violence, only obedience. With one simple gesture, Brooke redirected the entire horde straight toward the colonel's remaining soldiers. Chaos exploded across the desert. Reese lost consciousness again from blood loss and exhaustion. When he woke later that night, he found himself inside a hidden shelter. A man sat nearby, cleaning a rifle. Barry, Brooke's brother. The same man responsible for Reese's twin brother dying years earlier. Tension filled the room instantly, but Barry ignored the hatred between them. "I saved you for one reason," Barry said. "You didn't hand Maxie over to the bunker." Reese stayed silent. Barry leaned closer. "Now, you help us save Grace." The next morning, the group prepared for war. As they approached the military facility, Reese explained the bunker layout from memory. Guard rotations, security systems, blind spots, emergency tunnels. The attack began at sunset. Inside the bunker perimeter, Maxie slipped into old maintenance tunnels beneath the structure. Reese pushed through the main corridors using his old military access codes. The entire defense network collapsed within minutes. But then, Reese discovered something horrifying. Inside one laboratory, workers manufactured small blue capsules that moved down assembly lines. The same capsules Reese had taken for years. He confronted the surgeon immediately. "What are these?" The surgeon smiled weakly. "You really never understood?" Reese felt cold fear crawl through his body. The surgeon finally revealed the truth. The bunker medicine never cured infection. It only slowed transformation. The capsules came from hybrid spinal fluid extracted from prisoners. Reese stared at his own hands. Hands that delivered innocent people into this nightmare. Everything he believed collapsed in seconds. The soldier inside him died right there. Now, only survival remained. Reese grabbed his weapon and turned fully against the bunker. Outside the laboratory, the battle intensified. Brooks' infected army smashed through outer defenses. Maxie slips into the security room like a ghost. No hesitation, she takes out the guard in silence and instantly hijacks the entire system. Doors unlock across the facility like dominoes falling. One by one, escape routes open up just in time to give Grace a fighting chance before it's too late. But inside this chaos, every side has its own agenda. The colonel steps forward with cold confidence. He says he will handle Reese and Barry personally. No backup, no mercy. At the same time, Dr. Byron is focused on something completely different. Not control, not war. He wants the boy because of his DNA. And that's when things turn dark. Dr. Byron isolates the son behind a heavy iron door. No escape, no help. Then, he releases a heavily modified zombie into the chamber. A creature he doesn't just control, he puppets it through a helmet interface. The attack begins. Reese and Grace fight through the chaos of the bunker, while Maxie disrupts the entire security grid. The colonel clashes with Reese during the uprising, but is eventually killed during the collapse of command. The controlled zombie system backfires when Barry helps trigger a feedback shock, disrupting Dr. Byron's control network. Everything starts collapsing at once. Now Reese and the group try to regroup, but Grace is now unstable. She is turning fast. She needs blood to stabilize, so they lock her away before she becomes dangerous. But nothing stays controlled for long. Reese later checks a storage area near Grace's containment and finds a blood-stained safe. Barry tries to distract Maxie so Reese can investigate deeper, but Grace suddenly snaps and attacks Barry, biting him. Reese arrives just in time with blood and saves Barry, stabilizing him again. But the real shock comes next. Grace is gone. Dr. Byron survived, and he took her. He rigs the lab with a bomb set to explode in 30 seconds, leaving only one escape route, a lift. Barry forces the lift open and tells Reese and Maxie to escape immediately, so Grace can still be saved. But Barry refuses to leave. He stays behind, accepting his fate as the infection spreads. Moments later, the explosion tears through the lab. Dr. Byron escapes and heads to Reese's base, where he attempts to extract serum. Using Grace, his transformation is now fully accelerating. Military soldiers arrive, but Dr. Byron massacres them after turning completely. Later, Reese and Maxie arrive. Dr. Byron attacks Reese in full zombie form. It looks like it's over until Grace regains control and kills Dr. Byron, ending him permanently. Grace then uses Reese's blood to stabilize him. But now, Reese realizes something terrifying. He is also starting to turn. He stopped taking his pills. Maxie frees Grace from containment. Reese nearly gives up and tries to shoot himself, but Grace stops him. Maxie injects him with the stabilizing serum. He survives, for now. And in the final moment, Barry and his infected sister are still alive, fully transformed, but aware. They step out into the wasteland. Something new has been born.